Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. Now, my name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And I'm joined today by Ellen. Ellen, can you please share a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. So my name is Ellen Maier. I'm actually Argentinian, but I live in Spain. I have been working Zignaly for the past 4 years. I started in the company as customer support to understand how the company worked, to understand it from A to Z. So after understanding everything, how it worked, what were all the needs of the company, I started building all the human resource department. So it has been like 3 years, a little bit more than that. So an amazing path on Zignaly, on DeFi, on blockchain. So yes, a little bit of that.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about the flexible work setup that you have at Zignaly. What is the actual policy?
So Zignaly in that part is really interesting because for us, having flexible hours is
Mhm.
a game changer. So everyone can set up their own schedules. They can have their life. For example, if they have to pick their kid to school, they can do it, work later, anything that they want. And this is really great because it builds trust and it gives the people the freedom to work
Mm.
in the best way that they consider. And this
Mhm.
is so great for all the team because not only lift the spirits, but also
Mhm.
keeps the productivity really high because the team can deliver better results without the usual like 9 to 5 that most people are used to.
Excellent. Now, given that you have that flexibility, there are a number of concerns about how to maintain productivity in a flexible work setup. So how do you make sure that people are productive? Like, how do you actually measure productivity? How do you evaluate productivity? What systems do you use to ensure productivity? Talk a little bit about that.
So we always work remotely in
Mhm.
Signally. So we were testing different tools to see what works better for us. So right now, and we were testing, I think all this year, all 2024, we are all about Asana for project management.
Mhm.
This is really great and was an amazing improvement because it keeps the task clear and everyone on the same loop. So
Mhm.
we can do also regular check-ins and we can set transparent goals. So this help us to stay connected
Mhm.
and to everyone to have the same goal and work towards that. And thanks to those practices, we have a solid culture for
Mhm.
accountability and teamwork even without the office vibe.
Mhm.
So another thing that I think is really interesting is that even if we are remote, we gather once a year to see the other team members, see them face to
Mhm.
face. We're going to be next week gathering
Nice.
the team. And yes, it's really great because we can work together in one place, enjoy the different place, and
Mhm.
also bond outside the work.
Oh, that's interesting. So I help a number of companies figure out the remote work setups, and many of them have these events, and I facilitate activities at these events. The typical things I see in these events, and I'm curious what you do, is kind of going to be a mix of some things like free activities. One is socializing and team bonding. Another is training and professional development. And the third is discussion of team strategy, whether the company level as a whole, or the unit level, or the team level. So those kind of three distinct areas of activities, what I typically see at gatherings for companies that are fully remote. And they often bring me in as an external expert to do some training. That is why I know the kind of activities that are going on. Now, I'm curious, what do you do at Zignali? What are you going to do at this upcoming activity?
So we focus mainly in two things,
Mhm.
as we usually have the events on September, later September, first days of October. We use it to plan the next year. So
Mhm.
all the teams,
Mhm.
they gather, they plan the next year. We also use this opportunity to develop important
Mhm.
projects. For example, all the development team will be working on a specific project. And we also try to gather people that are from different parts of the company to work. Like, for example, sometimes you will need small help from other person of the company, for example, marketing or development. And it's really great because in that moment, instead of sending a message, you can go across the table, talk with the other person and do that. And of course, we will have like a lot of outside work activities to enjoy and to bond for the team.
Okay, so it sounds like generally the similar sort of mix that I talked about: strategy, then socializing, and then professional development.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Now, what do you do to make sure that people stay in the light? How do you actually communicate? What are the activities that you do? So you use Asana. I know you have worked on addressing and reducing the number of emails. Tell me a little bit more practically about how you communicate asynchronously outside the time when you do those in-person events.
Yes, this is really important because as an expert of remote work, you know that remote work has his side parts that, for example, people stay connected 24/7. And we are trying to push everyone on the team to have a work-life balance. Like you can do your work, you can disconnect, you can spend time with your family, with your friends, doing exercise, anything that you're interested. And we also push everyone to say like other team members' time is not your time. So even if you receive an email from another, not an email, a message, a task, because for example, you have enabled that information on your phone at 12 at night, that doesn't need to be like you have to reply. Is the other person's work? Maybe they live in Asia, maybe they live in South America, they have different time zones.
Sure.
So for us, it was really important to make that distinguish. Like you don't have to be connected 24/7. You can do your work, do your part, and then disconnect, because the ability to disconnect and engage with your real life is what is going to fulfill you, recharge you, and it will give you the energy to come back the next day and do everything and killing it at your work.
That makes sense. Now, we talked about some of the benefits and some of the techniques you use to address the communication aspects. I'm curious to talk about different demographics of folks at your company, specifically about junior employees. Something I've seen with companies I work with that are fully remote is that they have some issues. Like, for example, I'm still consulting with Atlassian. So they create competing software to Asana. So they create Trello, for example. And I consult with them on how to integrate their junior team members into their team, because they are working in a mostly remote setting like you are. And that's a difficulty that they experience. So I'm curious what you find to be effective techniques for integrating junior team members into your team.
So on our side, you have to take into consideration that the people that we hire, they came from a lot of different places. They can come from crypto, blockchain, venture capital, and even corporate backgrounds. And for example, for us, we do not make as much focus on someone to have experience, for example, working remotely. But what we try to search on those, for example, junior or more senior people, but with anyone that enters the company, is that we trying to find people that they thrive and they grow in a flexible and phase-based setup. So this is really important because the people needs to be independent. They need to be self-lead. They don't need to have someone micromanaging them. And this is really important for people that works in remote team to be able to work. So they need to be self-managed. And another thing that for us is really, really important, And I think that goes hand to hand with this, is that we look for people with a growth mindset and with people that are aligned with their values. So if you can find people that has the growth mindset, that they think that, okay, if I don't know something, I can learn it, I can be teach, and I can improve. This is great because they will be able to do things that they never did it before. And I think this is the most important thing. Yes, even for juniors, in the case that you commented, is that to know if they are aligned with the company values. And you also need to have values and mission that really catches their attention, because everyone needs that drive inside of them to work.
Excellent. Now, as we finish up, what do you see as the future of remote work at Zignaly, and what kind of challenges are you working on to improve the current approach you have to remote work?
So for us, I think Zignaly did things really differently than other companies. We always work remotely since 2018, since it was founded. And I know that most companies started working remotely after COVID. So this is something that is most common for us. But on the future, I see two paths. I think I see one path of companies that will only want to work in an office, and they will be losing team members because people have to commute a lot in order to, if you live in a big city, you will lose a lot of time. And for the remote workers, I think the working space is going to be bigger. So everyone will have more opportunities, other companies, more job offers. So I think it will be on the companies to see, okay, what we're doing differently to attract and retain the people in our company. And I think in that part is going to be like the most important thing, and it's going to differentiate the good companies from the regular or the bad ones.
Okay, good. Well, this was very helpful. Thank you very much, Ellen. I really appreciate your expertise.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a really pleasure.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you checked it out and leave a review. It helps other people discover the show, and it helps us improve the show.